6 months after my wife's funeral, I was still grieving. Then I saw her alive, buying light fixtures like nothing had happened. I walked up to her, my hands shaking. She looked at me with confusion. "I'm sorry. You must have me confused with someone else." But that voice was identical. The scar on her hand, everything was the same. I followed her home. What I discovered next made my heart stop beating. I'm thankful you're listening. What I'm about to tell you changed everything. But first, let me know, where are you watching from, and what's the time there? I buried my wife 6 months ago. Yesterday I saw her at Home Depot. I know how that sounds. Grief does strange things to a man, makes you see faces that aren't there. For 6 months I'd been living in that fog. But this wasn't my mind playing tricks. This was real. Thursday morning, just past 11. I was in the electrical aisle of the Home Depot on Charleston Boulevard, looking for supplies for the warehouse renovation downtown. The project was behind schedule. Missing conduit pipes, junction boxes, the kind of small things that stop a whole job cold. That's when I heard her voice. Not just any voice. Deborah's voice. That particular frustrated tone she used when someone wasn't listening. I'd heard it 1,000 times over 43 years of marriage. My hand froze on the wire spool. "No, that's not what I need," the voice said from the next aisle. "I specifically asked for recessed lighting." I set down the wire. My legs moved on their own, carrying me toward the lighting section. My heart was doing something strange in my chest, beating too fast. And there she was, standing in aisle 12, holding a clipboard, arguing with a sales associate about light fixtures. Navy blue blazer, her hair shorter, more gray. But the way she stood, the way she tilted her head, that was all Deborah. She turned, and the morning light caught her profile. My wife, the woman I'd buried at Palm Memorial Gardens, the woman whose name I still couldn't say out loud. I must have said her name. She turned and looked directly at me. Nothing. No recognition, no shock. Just the polite, annoyed expression of a stranger being stared at. "Deborah," I said. My voice came out rough. "It's me." She stepped back, clutching her clipboard. "I'm sorry. I think you have me confused with someone else." But I could see it. The scar on her left hand running from thumb to wrist. From the night she'd grabbed a hot skillet without a mitt. August 1995. I'd driven her to the ER at 2 in the morning. 11 stitches. "Your hand," I said, my fingers shaking. "The scar. The skillet. You burned yourself making apple pie." "Sir." Her voice was cold now. "I don't know you. Please leave me alone." She walked quickly toward the exit. I tried to follow, but my legs felt like wood. Everything felt unreal. I made it to the doors just in time to see her meet a man outside. Tall, gray-haired polo shirt and khakis. He put his arm around her shoulders. She glanced back at the store. At me. Then they walked toward a white Ford sedan 3 rows over. I stood there, automatic doors opening and closing around me, hot desert air blasting in. 105 degrees. July, in Vegas. The heat that used to make Deborah complain every summer about moving somewhere cooler. But she wasn't complaining now. She was alive. Getting into that Ford with a man who wasn't me. He opened her door. She smiled at him. That smile I knew better than my own face. I nearly ran to my truck. My old Silverado was parked in the far corner. My hands shook so hard I dropped the keys twice. The white Ford was pulling out of the lot, heading east on Charleston. I started the engine. I got in my truck and followed them. My hands were shaking on the wheel. The woman I buried 6 months ago was alive, and I was about to find out where she'd been hiding. The house was in Henderson, 30 minutes from the life we'd built together in Summerlin. I followed the white Ford east on Charleston, then south on Boulder Highway, keeping 3 cars back. My hands had stopped shaking. Something cold had taken over. I wasn't grieving anymore. I was hunting. They turned into a neighborhood of middle-class homes. 2-car garages, small yards. The kind of place where people know their neighbors' names. The Ford pulled into a beige ranch-style house with white trim. Nothing special. The perfect place to hide. I drove past, circled the block, and parked 4 houses down. Far enough not to be obvious. Close enough to see. Deborah got out carrying Home Depot bags. The man took more from the trunk. Gray hair, polo shirt, khakis. They moved like they'd done this 1,000 times. Easy. Comfortable. The front door opened. 2 kids ran out. A boy and a girl, maybe 8 and 10. "Grandpa, Grandpa, did you get the paint?" "Grandpa." The man laughed and caught the girl in a hug. Deborah ruffled the boy's hair. They all went inside. The door closed. A perfect little family. I sat there, the engine ticking as it cooled. The afternoon sun beat down, sweat slid down my back. I took out my phone and started documenting. Photos of the house, the white Ford. I zoomed in on the license plate. MZK3847, Nevada plates, wrote it in the notebook from my glove box. 2 hours passed. The sun dropped toward the mountains. Through the windows, I could see them moving inside. Kitchen lights came on. Deborah passed by the window, gesturing the way she did when talking. The man at the table, kids running past. At 6:30, they sat down for dinner. I could see them through the dining room window. Deborah serving plates. The man saying something that made everyone laugh. Normal. Wholesome. Everything we'd had once. Before she decided to die. I stayed until the lights went out. Until the last bedroom went dark. 11:43. Nearly 12 hours watching the life my wife had built without me. I started the truck and drove home. Las Vegas at midnight. Empty streets. I took the long way, not ready to face my own dark house. If Deborah was alive, who did I bury? The question had been circling for hours. 6 months ago, I'd stood at a graveside and watched them lower a casket. I'd thrown dirt on it. I'd cried so hard I couldn't stand without help. But I never saw the body. The closed casket at the viewing. Kevin pulling me aside, face serious. Dad, it's better if we don't open it. The accident was bad. You don't want to remember her that way. Trust me. I'd trusted him. My son, he'd handled everything. The funeral home, the paperwork, the death certificate. So efficient. I thought he was being strong for me. The hospital had called him first, he'd said. He'd identified the body, made all the arrangements before I knew what was happening. I'd been grateful. I pulled into my driveway in Summerlin. The house was dark, had been dark for 6 months. Ever since Deborah died. Ever since Kevin convinced me to keep the casket closed. I sat there with the engine off, staring at the garage door. Kevin, who handled all the arrangements. Kevin, who insisted I shouldn't see the body. Kevin, who'd been calling every week, checking in, making sure I wasn't asking questions. My son knew. I didn't sleep that night. At 6 a.m, I picked up the phone and called my son. He answered on the 5th ring, voice thick with sleep. Dad, what's wrong? Come to the house now. Now, Dad, it's 6. Now, Kevin. 20 minutes later, he knocked. I didn't get up. It's open. He came in wearing jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt, hair messy, nervous, looking for reassurance I wasn't going to give him. I'd printed the photos, laid them on the kitchen table. The house in Henderson, the license plate. Deborah with the gray-haired man and the kids. Sit down, I said. He looked at the photos. The color drained from his face. Dad, I can explain. Don't explain, just tell me the truth. All of it. His hand shook as he picked up the photo of Deborah. Set it down carefully. How did you... I saw her yesterday at Home Depot. Your mother. The woman I buried 6 months ago. I leaned forward. Tell me everything. And if you lie even once... Okay. He sank into the chair, put his head in his hands. Okay. And he told me. Found out 3 years ago. Double expenses on credit cards. Confronted his mother. She admitted everything. The man in Henderson. 20 years together. She wanted out, but didn't want to split assets and divorce. The stores had $800,000 in debt, Dad. If you'd split everything, there would have been nothing left. So you helped her fake her death. He flinched. There was this homeless woman, Marilyn Cross, terminal cancer. Mom offered $50,000 to her niece. Marilyn checked into the hospital under Mom's name. Died 3 days later from the cancer. You bought a corpse. My hands pressed flat on the table. You made me bury a stranger. Dad, the signatures, my signatures on the sale documents. He couldn't look at me. 15. I forged your signature. Sold 2 stores. The money, $2.3 million from your accounts, $4.1 million from the businesses. His voice got smaller. I gave you $2,200 a month. You thought? I stood up. Chair scraped against the floor. You thought you'd steal my life's work. Help your mother fake her death. Leave me with nothing. We were going to tell you eventually. Get out. Dad, please, get out of my house. My voice shook, not with sadness, with rage. You're not my son anymore. My son died with your mother. Get out. He stood, tears streaming. Dad, I love you. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. What you did was betray me for years. Get out. The door closed behind him. I heard his car start. Drive away. I stood there alone. The house felt like a tomb. Both of them had betrayed me. My wife, my son. But I wasn't going to disappear quietly. Not anymore. I spent 3 days in the dark, didn't answer the phone, didn't eat, just sat there staring at 43 years of lies. But on the fourth day, something shifted. Grief turned to rage, and rage turned to purpose. I picked up my phone and typed, Private Investigator, Las Vegas. Leo Martinez Investigations, an address downtown on Fremont Street. No fancy website, just 30 years LVMPD, discreet, effective. I called. A rough voice answered. Martinez, I need help. They all do. Come by at 2. The office was small, cluttered, smelled like old coffee. Leo Martinez sat behind a desk piled with folders, 60-something bald short-sleeved shirt. He looked at me over reading glasses. What can I do for you? I need to find out everything about someone. Cheating spouse. Dead spouse, except she's not dead. He leaned back. Now that's a hell of a story. Tell me. So I did. The funeral, Home Depot, Henderson, Kevin's confession, all of it. Leo listened, making notes. When I finished, he whistled. Mr. Sullivan, in 30 years of this work, I've seen a lot. But this is something else. Can you help me? I can bury her. 5,000 retainer. Another 5 when I deliver the report. I wrote the check. How long? Give me a week. 7 days. I went back to work. Warehouse renovation, electrical HVAC, going through the motions, but my mind was elsewhere. On day 8, Leo called. Got everything. Come by. The folder he handed me was thick. I opened it, standing there. Photos. Deborah and the gray-haired man, shopping, having coffee, living normally. Victor Brennan, Leo said, age 52, retired insurance agent. Been with your wife for 20 years. Those kids are his grandchildren from a previous marriage. Victor Brennan. Finally a name for the man who'd stolen my wife. Bank statements. 3 accounts under Deborah Sullivan and Sarah Mitchell Carson. 2.3 million total. Monthly withdrawals averaging 8,000. 2 identities, Leo continued. Maybe more. The Carson name came from Lenny Curtis. Does fake documents. Birth certificates, licenses, social security cards. Phone records next. 207 calls between Kevin's number and a number registered to Sarah Carson. Before, during, and after the staged death, Leo said, your son knew everything. I flipped through the pages. Documented, proven, real. There's something else. Leo's voice got quieter. I dug into your wife's background. Before you there was Richard Anderson, married in 76. Died in a car accident in 80. She collected $300,000 in life insurance. He paused. Might be a pattern worth investigating. The room felt colder. You think? I think it's worth looking into. But that's your call. I closed the folder. I need a lawyer. Elizabeth Hart, criminal defense and civil fraud. Want me to call? Yes. Elizabeth Hart's office was professional. 10th floor, glass and chrome. She wore a gray suit. Firm handshake. Real. Mr. Sullivan, Leo briefed me. Quite a situation. Can you help me? I can destroy them. Fraud, forgery, identity theft, concealment of a corpse, 8 to 15 years in prison, each. I want every cent back, and I want them to face consequences. Then we need evidence. Leo's report is excellent, but we need your son's confession, on record this time. I already got him to confess. I need it recorded. Audio, video if possible. Can you do that? Get him to talk again? I thought about Kevin, my betrayer, my son. Yes, I said quietly, I can do that. 2 days later, I called Kevin. Son, can we talk? Maybe over lunch? His voice sounded eager, hopeful. Yes, Dad. Anywhere you want. The steakhouse, Tuesday, 1 o'clock. I'll be there. After hanging up, I stared at the digital recorder Elizabeth had given me. Small, thin voice activated. It fit perfectly inside my jacket pocket and would capture every word. On Tuesday at noon, I drove to the restaurant, an upscale place on the Strip, with white tablecloths and a quiet atmosphere where conversations never carried. I arrived early, chose a corner booth, tested the recorder, and slipped it into my inside pocket. I kept my jacket on. The room was cool enough that it looked natural. Kevin arrived exactly at 1. He had dressed carefully, button-down shirt, clean-shaven, trying to look respectful, trying to look like he cared. He slid into the booth across from me. Dad, thank you for... Order first, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Neither warm nor cold. We ordered steaks. Neither of us would eat much. When the waiter left, I leaned forward. I need to understand everything. From the very beginning. Every detail. Okay. He took a breath. Where do you want me to start? 3 years ago, when you found out. He told me again, but this time I stayed calm. I asked questions, clarified details, and made sure every word was clear for the recording. He explained the double credit card expenses confronting his mother, and her admission about Victor Brennan. 20 years together. She wanted out but refused to split assets. The stores were drowning Dad. $800,000 in debt. Suppliers threatening lawsuits. If you'd divorced, if everything had been liquidated and divided, we would have lost it all. So she suggested faking her death. She researched Nevada community property law and estate divisions. If you believed she died, you'd inherit everything outright. No split, no lawyers. And Marilyn Cross. Mom found her through Lenny Curtis, a man who makes fake documents. Marilyn was homeless, stage 4 cancer weeks to live. Mom offered $50,000 to Marilyn's niece. Marilyn checked into the hospital under Mom's name, using documents Lenny created. Yes, birth certificate, license, social security card. Marilyn went to the Henderson emergency room as Deborah Sullivan. 3 days later, she died of cancer. And Palm Memorial. I identified the body. Said it was too traumatic for you. Closed casket. The signatures, 15 documents. I practiced your signature for weeks. Business sales account transfers. $2.3 million from joint accounts. $4.1 million from selling 2 stores. I kept one running so it looked legitimate. And the $2,200 a month. I thought it was enough. Tell me about Richard Anderson. He froze. When I researched Mom's background, I found her first marriage. Richard Anderson died in 1980. She was the only witness and collected insurance. When I learned how he died, I got scared. Scared she might hurt you if you knew. That's why I went along with it. The recorder captured everything. Can we fix this? Kevin asked quietly. Is there a way to make it right? I looked at my son, the man who betrayed me, the boy I raised. We'll see, I said. I left cash on the table and walked out with everything I needed. Every word, every detail recorded. Elizabeth would file charges in the morning. Kevin thought I was merciful. He had no idea what. 2 weeks. That's how long Elizabeth needed to file the complaint, secure court orders, and freeze the accounts. 2 weeks for the legal machinery to start grinding. And now, standing on the threshold of that Henderson house with legal notices in hand, I was ready. The doorbell echoed through the house. 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. I heard footsteps. Then the door swung open. The gray-haired man stood there, the one I'd seen with Deborah. Up close, I could see the lines around his eyes, the confusion on his face. Can I help you? I'm looking for my wife, I said. Deborah Sullivan. His confusion deepened. I don't know anyone by that. Victor Brennan. I used his name, deliberately watched him flinch. I need to speak with Deborah. Or should I call her Sarah? Behind him I heard something fall, glass shattering. Then she appeared in the hallway and all the color drained from her face. Hello, Deborah, I said. It's been a while. 6 months, to be exact. Victor looked between us. Sarah, do you know this man? His name isn't Sarah, I said. It's Deborah Marie Sullivan, my wife. Married 43 years this past April. That's not possible, Victor stammered. We've been married for 20 years. She's Sarah Mitchell Carson. Show him your left hand, Deborah. She tucked it behind her back, but I'd already seen the panic in her eyes. The scar, I continued. From a cast-iron skillet, Christmas 1995. Or the birthmark on your right shoulder blade. Or your crooked pinky finger from that softball game in '89. I looked at Victor. Ask her. See if I'm lying. Deborah's voice came out as a whisper. Wesley, please. Please what? Please go away. Please pretend I didn't see you buying paint supplies at Home Depot. Please forget that I buried someone else in your place. Victor grabbed the doorframe for support. What is he talking about? I pulled out the legal documents, held them out. These are for you, Deborah Sullivan, also known as Sarah Mitchell, also known as Deborah Carson. Charges include identity fraud, forgery, concealment of a corpse, racketeering, and bigamy. Bigamy, Victor's voice cracked. She's married to both of us, I said. Has been for 20 years. Category D felony in Nevada. 1 to 4 years plus fines. The world seemed to tilt. Victor's face went white. Deborah reached for him, but he stepped back. There's more, I said, watching her face. Before me, there was Richard Anderson, married in 1976. Died in a convenient car accident in 1980. Deborah was the only witness. Insurance payout $300,000. I paused, let it sink in. Quite the pattern. Wouldn't you say Victor's first husband dies in an accident, second husband dies so she can steal his money, and you're still alive. For now. Victor staggered backward. The brakes on my car last month. You son of a bitch. Deborah lunged forward, but Victor held her back. You don't understand. Don't. My voice cut through the air like a knife. Don't you dare say you loved anyone. You bought a corpse, Deborah, a dying homeless woman named Marilyn Cross, paid $50,000 for her body, had our son forge my signatures, stole $2.3 million from our accounts, took $4.1 million from the business I built with my own hands, left me with $2,200 a month while you played house with him. Victor was shaking now. Sarah, tell me this isn't true. But she couldn't. The lies had finally run out. I placed the legal notices on the porch railing. All your accounts are frozen. All your assets are seized. Warrants have been issued for your arrest and Kevin's. I turned to Victor. I'm sorry you got caught in this, Mr. Brennan. You're a victim, too. My lawyer's information is on the bottom of those documents. She can help you recover what's yours. I walked back to my truck. Behind me, I heard Deborah sobbing Victor's stunned silence. Across the street, a neighbor stood on her lawn watching. Mrs. Dorothy Campbell, according to Leo's report. Good. Let the whole neighborhood see. I was pulling away when my phone rang. Elizabeth. It's done, she said. The arrest warrants are active. Everything's in motion. In the rearview mirror, Deborah was on her knees on the front step. The perfect lie she'd built for 43 years was crumbling around her, and this was only the beginning. The call came at 6:15 the next morning. Ashley, she was screaming. They took him. They handcuffed Kevin and took him away. I sat up in bed, turned on the lamp. My voice came out flat. Ask him what he did to me first. He's your son. How can you... He stopped being my son when he helped his mother steal $7 million and fake her death. I hung up. According to Elizabeth, Kevin had tried to wire $800,000 to a bank in Paraguay at midnight. The transaction was flagged and blocked. When the FBI showed up at his door at 5:30 that morning, he'd been packing a suitcase. He was being held without bail, flight risk. On Wednesday at 2 in the afternoon, they arrested Deborah. I wasn't there to see it, but Leo sent me the details. She'd been at a Whole Foods in Henderson buying groceries like nothing had happened. 2 officers walked up to her in the produce section. She tried to run, made it as far as the parking lot before they caught her. All her accounts were frozen. The house in Henderson was seized. Victor was left standing in the wreckage of a life that had been built on lies. I met him on Friday at a coffee shop near downtown. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Neither had I. I don't even know what to call her, he said, staring at his untouched coffee. Sarah, Deborah, who was she? A fraud, I said. That's all she ever was. He nodded slowly. She told me her name was Sarah Mitchell. Her birth date on all her documents was different from what you said. May 14th, not March 2nd. How many others were there? I wondered aloud. Leo had confirmed a third identity that morning. Property in Tucson, Arizona, purchased under the name Sarah Mitchell in 1998. A small condo, paid in cash. Victor's hand shook as he lifted his cup. I keep thinking about my car. The brakes failing last month. The mechanic said it looked like the line had been cut. You would have been next, I said quietly. Just like Richard Anderson. He met my eyes. Just like you were supposed to be. We sat in silence for a moment. 2 men who'd loved the same woman. 2 men she'd destroyed. I'm testifying, Victor said finally. Whatever they need from me, I'll give it. So will I. Elizabeth called that evening with updates. Kevin had accepted a plea deal. 5 years in Nevada State Prison in exchange for full cooperation and testimony against Deborah. Without the deal, he would have faced 8 to 10. Deborah refused to plea. She wanted a trial. But the Richard Anderson connection had changed everything. The pattern of behavior, the life insurance payouts, the suspicious deaths and disappearances. The DA was pushing for 15 years, maybe more. Ashley filed for divorce this morning, Elizabeth added. She's claiming she knew nothing about any of it. Does it matter she's protecting herself now? That night I came home to a voicemail. Kevin calling from the Clark County Detention Center. Dad, please. His voice was broken, desperate. I know I don't deserve it, but please. I need to talk to you. I need to explain. I stared at the blinking light on the machine for a long time. Then I deleted it. Not yet. I wasn't ready yet. But I knew I'd have to face him eventually. In court. 3 months passed. 3 months of depositions, legal filings, Elizabeth building an airtight case. I visited Kevin once after 6 weeks in custody. It was brief, painful, necessary. I haven't forgiven you, I told him through the plexiglass, but I won't abandon you. He cried. I left. And now, sitting in a Clark County courtroom, I watched the formal dissolution of my family play out under fluorescent lights. Kevin's plea hearing came first. He stood before Judge Catherine Brenner in an orange jumpsuit, hands shackled. He looked 20 years older than he had 4 months ago. 5 years in Nevada State Prison, the judge announced. Eligible for parole after 2.5 years contingent on good behavior and continued cooperation with authorities. Kevin turned toward me. Dad, I'm so sorry for everything. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Deborah's trial took 2 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Leo's documentation, the recorded confession bank, records Lenny Curtis's testimony about the forged documents, Victor's statement about the false identity. The prosecutor laid it out piece by piece, building a case so ironclad there was no room for doubt. When they called me to testify, I walked to the stand and looked directly at Deborah. She wouldn't meet my eyes. For 43 years, I began, I believed I was building a life with someone I loved. I worked 70-hour weeks. I put every dollar I earned into our future. I trusted her with everything I had. I paused. She stole it all. Not just the money. She stole my ability to trust, to believe in anything good. She stole the years I spent grieving for a woman who was alive and laughing at me the entire time. Victor testified next. He spoke about the lies, the false identity, the realization that he'd been a mark from the beginning. I don't know who I am anymore, he said quietly. Everything I built my life on was fiction. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Identity fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud, concealment of a corpse, racketeering, bigamy. Sentencing came a week later. Kevin Sullivan. Judge Brenner read, 5 years in Nevada State Prison, eligible for parole after serving half your sentence. Kevin nodded, was led away. Deborah Marie Sullivan, also known as Sarah Mitchell Carson. The judge continued, her voice hard. You have shown a pattern of exploitation spanning decades. From Richard Anderson in 1980 to the man before me today, you have built your life on deception and theft. The court sentences you to 15 years in Nevada Women's Correctional Facility. You will not be eligible for parole for the first 10 years of your sentence. Deborah's face went white. No, please. Furthermore, the judge added, you are ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $7.2 million to Wesley Sullivan and associated damages to Victor Brennan. The bailiff moved to escort Deborah out. As they led her past my row, she turned and looked at me one last time. I didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I pushed through them to my truck. Bill Anderson was waiting by the driver's door. You did right, Wes, he said. Did I? My son was going to prison. My wife would die there, but I was free. And I was tired, so tired. I just wanted to go home, wherever that was now. 1 year later, I stood in my workshop in Boulder City, sanding a custom bookshelf for a retired teacher. The work was honest. The scent of wood was clean. And this life was mine. I'd fallen into a routine. Coffee with Bill Anderson at 6:30 every morning at a diner on Nevada Highway. Work in the shop until noon. A hike in the desert in the afternoon, just me and the silence. Simple, deliberate, free. The call came on a Tuesday. Kevin calling from Portland. Hey, Dad? I set down my plane. Kevin, I got out last week. Good behavior. 2.5 years instead of 5. I know, Elizabeth told me. A pause. Then, I'm working for a carpentry company up here. Small outfit. They knew about my record and hired me anyway. His voice was steadier than I'd heard in years. I'm dating someone. A teacher. Her name's Rachel. She's a good woman, Dad. Good. I'd like you to meet her. Someday, if you're ready. I looked out the window at the mountains. Maybe someday. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a door left open. That was enough for now. The financial recovery had taken 8 months to finalize. $7.2 million. Elizabeth helped me set it up right. $5 million went into conservative investments, generating about $18,000 a month in passive income. More than enough to live on. $1.5 million sat in savings. $300,000 I donated to organizations that helped victims of financial abuse and elder fraud. The woodworking wasn't about money. It was about making something real with my own hands. Something that couldn't be faked or stolen. Victor and I met for coffee once a month. We didn't talk about Deborah much anymore. We talked about fishing, baseball, the mundane kindness of life moving forward. Letters came from the Nevada Women's Correctional Facility every few weeks. Deborah's handwriting on the envelopes. I threw them away without opening them. There was nothing she could say that I needed to hear. I finished the bookshelf on a Friday afternoon, loaded it into my truck, and delivered it to Mrs. Hernandez on the east side of Boulder City. She cried when she saw it, paid me $300, and gave me homemade tamales. On the drive home, I passed through the edge of Las Vegas. The Strip glittered in the distance, all that light and noise and performance. I used to live in that city, used to think it was home. I didn't miss it. My house in Boulder City was small, 900 square feet, one bedroom, a garage I'd converted into a workshop. No debt, no ghosts, just a place that was mine. People asked me if it was worth it, destroying my family, sending my son to prison, taking everything from the woman I'd loved for 43 years. And I told them I didn't destroy my family. They did that. I just refused to let them destroy me too. I'm 67 years old. I lost 4 decades to a lie. But now I have something I never had before: truth, my own truth. A life built on honesty, not deception. And dignity, always dignity. Because it's never too late to demand what you deserve. Never too late to choose yourself, and never too late to begin again. Some people call it revenge. I call it justice. But really, it's just freedom, and that's worth more than anything. Looking back at my story, I see a man who wasted 43 years trusting blindly. Don't be like me. Don't ignore the red flags. Don't let loyalty become foolishness. When something feels wrong, trust your gut. God gave us instincts for a reason. The lessons I learned the hard way. First, verify everything, even from people you love. Second, protect yourself legally and financially always. Third, it's never too late to demand justice. God doesn't reward victims who stay silent. He honors those who stand for truth. This isn't just another one of those grandpa stories you hear and forget. This is a true story that cost me 4 decades, but it taught me something invaluable. Dignity matters more than peace. God blessed me with a second chance at 67, and I took it. That's the real message here. Among all the grandpa stories out there, mine might sound extreme, but it's a true story that happens more often than you think. Elder fraud, family betrayal, financial abuse, they're everywhere. Don't let it happen to you. And remember, God sees everything. The lies, the theft, the betrayal, but He also sees your strength when you choose to fight back. That's when miracles happen. This is my true story, one of many grandpa stories that prove it's never too late to reclaim your life. If this story moved, you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Drop a comment below. I read every single one. Your story matters too. Let's support each other. God bless you all.